£1,000.
Oh dear, oh dear. It says that the Silk Stream is just over 4 kilometres long. The Silk Stream is a tributary of the River Brent, which drains water from the Edgware area and is part of the Brent catchment, which includes all the land and waterways that drain into the River Thames at Brentford in Hounslow. Historically, the rivers of the catchment would have meandered in the upper parts around Totteridge and Stanmore, while the lower part was once extensive marshland. The name is believed to derive from sol or sulk, the Old English for plough or furrow.
Today's walk is from Burnt Oak in North London, and we're going to walk all the way to Wembley, trying to go as much as we can on through the parks, avoiding the roads. And we can do this. We only have to walk along a small amount of road to get from Burnt Oak to Wembley. Just love these houses here. Love the style. This park here was built in the 1920s, made from open fields and woodland. Some of the trees here would date back to the 1920s, and they incorporated the Silk Stream River right through the centre of the park. This walk will both incorporate nature reserves, parkland, and urban. Skateboard park behind me.
You can follow the Silk Stream for quite a while at the beginning of this walk. Okay, I'm going to leave the silk stream and now walk to the new Colindale estate. Take some photos of the new apartment blocks that way. We're now walking through Rushgrove Park. This narrow park was left alone as the silk stream runs through it, while either side is heavily built up residential houses, and on one side the underground train line is left alone because it was always liable to flooding. There's a nice variation of trees in this park, Rushgrove Park, giving us all different shades of colour. Our path is blocked off. You would have thought they'd have the sense to make a temporary narrow path just along there up to the road. It's only a short distance. You can see the house there. That's all we need to walk to. And they've blocked it all off while they, I guess, re-tarmac this park, this path, retired path, and the car park there. Never mind. It's only a short, very short diversion. This will go to the road and then put us out by 100, 200 yards. I would imagine that when these houses were first built here, their gardens at the back, which are onto Rushgrove Park and the Silk Stream, must have been thick woodland. I'm sure that the thick woods went right straight up to their back gardens. But now it's clear to make a lovely, more accessible park. I love the tiles over making the archway over the door. Great craftsmanship. If you ever want to know the age of a street and the houses in a certain street, because of the post box that says GR, so that post box was put there during the reign of King George. Not George the First though, he just happened to be the first King George when these letterboxes were introduced, post boxes. First being Queen Victoria, so this is George, son of Queen Victoria. So you can work out roughly in what period the houses were built here. Of course, during the Second World War, houses were bombed, and so what I've just said could be thrown out the window where the houses were bombed, because then obviously there'd be new houses built. This is St. Matthias, Church of England. Popular with the Romanian people of this area. Getting more urban now, but don't worry, we'll be very soon back into a nature reserve. But at least it's very green here. There's a lot of new high-rise builds in the Colindale, Hendon area. This is the 1947 postal sorting office here on Edgware Road. So this would have been put up in King George VI time. And that over there is Hendon Magistrates Court, just off of Goldsmith Avenue. Does Master Lee still have his martial arts classes here?
This is West Hendon playing fields and our first sign of the Wembley Arch. Hendon FC. This area is the Welsh Harp Reservoir and Nature Reserve. It's an oasis for birds. It has about 170 hectares of space here, and one of the most important areas for breeding birds in the whole of southern England.
The reservoir here at Welsh Harp was built in the year 1837. Opposite the McDonald's on Blackbird Hill is Quainton Open Space. Quainton Open Space gets its name from the nearby Quainton Street, where terrace houses were built originally for railway workers. The river we just passed is the River Brent, which runs through here, behind them brambles. It says on this notice board that the Brent Reservoir takes water from the tributary rivers that converge in the reservoir. The Dollis Brook enters the reservoir from the east near to Staples Corner and Brent Cross, having origins in the Totteridge area. The Silk Stream enters the reservoir from the north and has a catchment that takes water from Edgware and parts of Harrow to Bentley Priory. Nitrous oxide. It says on this notice board that the Brent Reservoir, constructed in the 1830s, was primarily used as a topping up reservoir for the Grand Union Canal. It's quite a peaceful place, this, right in the centre of the built up area of Wembley. That ball of fluff is a cat on a garden shed, fast asleep. So we have done it. We've walked from Burnt Oak all the way to Wembley, hardly walking on any roadsides. We've used the parks, playing fields, paths next to streams and rivers. And there's the sign to prove it, Wembley Park Station. And there's further proof. We're in Bowater Road, and there is the arch of Wembley Stadium.
Wembley Stadium, once a brownfield site characterised by its massive open-air car park, industrial warehouses, the football stadium and Wembley Arena. The regeneration of Wembley Park began in 2000, the millennium, with the demolition of the old stadium and the building of the new. Wembley Park was the site of the 1924-25 British Empire exhibition, and that there is the modern Box Park, the largest box park in London. When all the new residential apartment blocks are taken up by residents, Wembley Park's population would have increased by 20,000. Not far from the Metropolitan Railway line is number 10 Watkin Road, a 24-storey apartment block, the latest in the area's residential. The building has 229 homes and is one of a series of towers with varying heights and varying colours. Number 10 Watkin Road is the first of a planned collection of buildings along Watkin Road, named after Sir Edward Watkin, known for his role in shaping the Metropolitan Railway, which connected central London to Wembley Park. Watkin was a key driver of the area's urban development. Canada Gardens sits on the edge of a recreational area with water features for the ever-growing populace of Wembley Park. As nice as it seems and looks, in my opinion, way too small for the ever-growing population of Wembley Park. The towers themselves have been angled to optimise sight lines across the development, creating a carefully curated visual composition. Canada Gardens consist of 7 towers, each named after Canadian painters whose work was showcased at the 1924 British Empire exhibition. The 1924 British Empire exhibition, Canada Pavilion, which once stood on this very site, was the showcase of Canada's economic potential, highlighting its timber, grain and dairy industries. In the 1924 pavilion, also highlighted was the Canadian Pacific and National Railways. Bowery, Lexington and Madison, three residential towers lining the crescent beside Wembley Stadium, inspired by 1950s and 1960s New York. Elevated podium gardens provide exclusive green space for residents, visible from street level but inaccessible to the general public. That's Wembley Arena, originally named the Empire Pool, built for the British Empire Games in 1934. British Empire Games, which we now know as the Commonwealth Games. The structure was a remarkable feat of engineering, featuring a reinforced concrete frame with a 73-metre span, then the largest of its kind in the world. The venue could hold up to 12,500 using temporary seating. It housed two swimming pools, including a 12-metre paddling pool, and was described at the time as the world's largest covered bath. This area is called Elvin Gardens, named after the businessman Arthur Elvin. The Empire Pool hosted Olympic swimming events in 1948. Arthur Elvin shaped much of Wembley's early development. Born in Norwich, Elvin worked at the 1924 British Empire exhibition, initially running a cigarette kiosk. Seizing a business opportunity, he purchased 8 kiosks for £100, and by the 1924 exhibition's end had turned his investment into over £1,000. Seeing the potential of Wembley Park, Elvin continued acquiring land and assets, eventually purchasing Wembley Stadium. By 1933, he had expanded his ambitions to include the construction of the Empire Pool. In 1956, the swimming pool was permanently covered, allowing the venue to concentrate on boxing, music and theatre events. And over there is the Brent Civic Centre, the home of Brent Council. George Michael grew up not far away from here. And of course snooker. Status Quo, the main performers of Live Aid. And the feet of Michael Flatley. This area of Wembley Park is Emerald Gardens, which commemorates the New Zealand pavilion of the 1924 Great British Empire exhibition. The name Emerald references Emerald Lakes, a group of strikingly coloured volcanic lakes in Tongariro National Park, New Zealand. The New Zealand Pavilion incorporated Maori artistic traditions, featuring reproductions of Maori carvings and decorations. These two residential buildings are called Cedar and Redwood, and even though the cedar and redwood trees are not native to New Zealand, seeds were taken to New Zealand in 1901 and the trees flourished. This is Humphrey Repton, landscape architect, who in the 18th century landscaped this area, and he coined the name Wembley Park. It was from a large house and estate of the Wellers, and he called it a lovely place near Harrow. And if you are a regular user of the A40 not far from here, driving around the year 2000, you may have noticed 4 large hills of rubbish being built up just off the A40. And those 4 large hills are called Northalle Fields, and the rubbish there came from here as they dismantled the old Wembley Stadium. So when you stand on top of Northalle Fields, which you can do, they say, I haven't done it, I must do it, they say that you can see Wembley Stadium from there. And as I always like to say at the end of these walks, thank you for joining me on this walk, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheerio.